Good evening, everyone, and thank you so much for joining us here tonight. My name is Alex, and on behalf of Copper State Credit Union, we are so happy to have you for this easy and empowered budgeting virtual event. Welcome to all. Some items to review before we get started. So that everyone can plan accordingly, just an FYI that our session is scheduled to last for about 1 hour. Second, please take a moment to find your Zoom toolbar, likely at the bottom of your screen. We want you to be able to participate as much as possible during our session today, so we want everyone to be aware of the features available to you. First, the Q&A. Please type your questions for the speaker here. The speaker will address as many of the on-topic questions as possible during our time. You may also receive a type response from one of our team members. Next, if we need to send you any links during the session, you'll find these in chat. Now, the last thing I want to show you before I turn it over to Christina is the polling feature. You should see a fun fall-themed poll popping up here momentarily. If you could please respond so that we know a little bit more about our audience tonight. Thank you. Now, I'm excited to introduce our speaker, Christina Credit. She's joining us tonight from our Member Education Center. Christina has been with the credit union for 3.5 years in various positions and is happy to be reporting for duty now as Financial Wellness Program Manager. Some fun facts about her. Christina has lived in the Phoenix area for 9 years since moving from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. She has 2 young daughters and 2 dogs at home. She loves camping and gardening with her husband and family. Christina, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you, Alex, and thank you everyone for joining us this evening for our virtual event. I can't possibly be more excited to talk to you today about budgeting. It is one of my favorite things, and I will warn you, budgeting can become a habit-forming behavior. Once you get started, you find out what your money can actually do for you when you know where it's going, it can be a little bit hard to quit once you get started. But before we jump in today, I do want to make sure that you all know a little bit about our credit union. Copper State Credit Union is open for membership if you live, work, or worship in any of the following counties of Arizona. Right now, we have 8 branch locations. We have over 38,000 members and over $500 million in assets. Copper State Credit Union values family, empowerment, discovery, and excitement. We really want you all to feel financially empowered to reach the goals that you have. And that's one of the reasons why I'm here today. I do want to ask you guys what your current confidence level is regarding budgeting. So I'm going to launch a second poll here. And this is anonymous, all of them are anonymous. But coming into today's session, I want you to share your current confidence level regarding budgeting, if you don't mind. I'll give everyone a few moments here to take that poll. Awesome. Thank you so much for sharing that. And with that, we're gonna really get started here. No matter what your answers were, whether you are super confident already or not confident at all or somewhere in the middle, I want you to know this. Budgeting, it can be for everyone. So let's get empowered to take control of our finances and to really make and take that step in the right direction. We have 4 main steps that we're going to go through today. The first one, visualizing your goals. Then we're going to assess the money coming in, talk about capturing the money going out, and then giving every dollar a job. So let's get started. First up, visualizing your financial future. So I want to start today with a visualization activity, some goal setting here. But before half of you decide to sign off because you don't want to do that kind of stuff, hear me out, because there's some data that supports it. I believe Alex, who introduced earlier, is going to share with you a link in the chat. And this is a link to a study that I almost did not believe when I read it. There was a study done, and it was with 2 groups of participants. One group was assigned to do these hand exercises. I think it was either their hand or their elbow, one of the 2, to do these hand exercises on a regular basis and to see what kind of improvement they had in their muscle strength. So the group that did the exercises, as represented on your slide with the guy with the muscles, they had a 53% improvement by doing those exercises. But the other group was assigned to simply sit and think about doing the exercises. All they had to do was visualize doing the hand exercises or doing the elbow exercises. And their improvement was between 13 and 35%. So it wasn't nothing. They had significant improvement from just visualizing these exercises. So I think that that shows at least a little bit the power of visualization. As in some cases, you know, that's over half of the improvement of actually doing the exercise itself. Makes me want to go home and sit on the couch and think about running, you know, going on a run instead of actually doing it. No, maybe it doesn't apply to all situations. But in this case, I think it's a nice example of why we should take a minute to visualize what we want for our financial future. Because if you don't have a goal and you don't have a vision, it's hard to get motivated to do a budget, honestly, because it's a little bit of work, right? And hopefully I can break it down into some really simple steps today and you feel empowered to do that work. But ask yourself a couple of these questions. What kind of lifestyle do you want to be leading? And are you living it right now? What do you want for yourself, for your money? And how would you feel if that reality, you woke up in the morning and that was true? So I want to warm up and give you guys a couple examples of this. So this is your 3rd poll for the day, but it gives you some ideas of these lifestyle goals. You can pick 1 or 2 or 3 and just share. Again, these are anonymous, but it gives you some ideas. Maybe it gets the juices flowing. It's an evening on Thursday, almost the weekend. Maybe it'll get you thinking about what some of those goals might be. So go ahead and respond. You want to live a lifestyle where you're able to do what? Pick a couple of those that resonate with you. Awesome. I see those results rolling in from a few people. Go ahead and continue taking that poll, please. Give it a few more seconds. All right. So I am going to just use 2 of these as an example because the 2 that you guys chose the most were to live debt-free and to not worry about money. So taking those goals that you just chose, I want you to get more specific about and if you chose a different one, get more specific about that one. But, if you answered that you want to live debt-free, imagine that you're magically out of debt. What does your life look like now? What do you want to do? Because those are the fun types of goals we want to set for ourselves, right? It helps us when we don't really want to put that extra $20 a month towards our debt. So the other thing is, when you're thinking about this, it could be really easy to say, well, Christina, I just need more money. Like, that's my financial goal, is to make a ton of money. And, I hear you. I hear you on that. But think of all of the stories that you've heard about people who win the lottery and become millionaires, and then they blow all their money and are broke. Or famous people who have a lot of money at one or more points in their lives and can't manage it. So really, it's not always about, that. So I'm going to pause for a moment. I'm going to let you guys think about it. What do you want for yourself and your money? Write it down. Either write it down on a sticky note or send it to us in the Q&A. We won't share them. But if you want to share, go ahead and type it in. There's a few more examples here for you, showing how you get a little bit more specific with your goal. If you want to buy a house, where? In what city? And I know this sounds crazy, but just remember that visualization is powerful in helping you commit to a new goal, like budgeting, right? So that's why, for me, it had to be our first step. And think about it, you're 1/4 of the way there to creating your budget, right? All right, so if you haven't already, go ahead, close your eyes for just a second. Think about what it would be like to be in that vision, and know that we're about to build a plan to try and get you there. I'm going to talk about these goals a lot as we go through the rest of our session. All right. Here we are. We are at step 2 already. See, you guys are doing a great job. Like I said, 1/4 of the way done already. So step 2, before we can come up with a plan for what to do with our money, first you have to know how much money is coming in to your household in any given month. Of course, we're keeping our goals and our vision top of mind, but really the practicality of it is we've got to know what kind of money is coming in. Depends on what kind of person you are. Some people are, oh, my paycheck is off by 10 cents and, they know. Other people are like, oh, I make about this much. And so it depends on your situation, whether this is a simple question or a complicated question. For some of you, it's simple. Take a look at your pay stubs, and disclaimer for everyone, we are going to talk about budgeting monthly. So over the course of 1 calendar month is how we're going to make our plan here. And so what you want to do when you're on this step 2 is determine how much money is coming in a given month. So for some people that's every other week, some people it's monthly, some people it's weekly. So if you are one of those people who has it pretty simple, you're just going to, calculate your pay stubs for 1 month's time, and you're going to write that total on a sticky note, because that's going to be a really important number that we come back to. And a challenge for you, really a challenge for anybody, is I heard this one time, I thought it was so interesting. If you have the guts or the ability in your financial life to round your income down a little bit, it's a unique opportunity to give yourself some flexibility, a cushion in your checking account. If you had a decrease in income, for a short period of time, or if you accidentally overspent in some way, if you take that income number, let's say it's $4,300 for over the course of a month, and let's say you tried to make your budget work pretending like you only made $4,000 a month. That's what I talk about, or that's my how I want to explain rounding down. if you pretend that you make a little bit less, then that cushion is going to build up over time and provide a little bit of flexibility for you. Now, again, a lot of what I'm going to say today is so dependent on your situation. So please don't take any one thing I say and, go 100% one way or the other. Apply it to your own personal situation and what's going to work for you. Because that's our goal at Copper State Credit Union. We want to find what's going to empower you personally and financially. So that's the simple answer, right? For those of you who know what you make, or it's really easy to just add up, one income on pay stubs, you're done. You can take a sip of your coffee or go get a snack or something. No, I'm just kidding. So for the rest of you, there's these top frequently asked questions about income calculation. And I really wanted to share those because a lot of people are in the situation where there's multiple people in the household bringing in money, or there's different sources. So these are some of the ways that you can calculate. But when we get to this FAQ, a lot of people, their first response to this is, what if I don't make the same amount every month? I can't budget because I don't make the same amount every month. Some good news for you. A lot of people are in this boat. It's called a variable income, whether it's bonuses or commission or, how busy the place is that you work. A lot of things can go into that. So with a variable income, you really have two nice options. The first being you would take the lowest month from the past year. Okay. And then the second option is that you take an average from the past 3 months or 6 months or 12 months, however much work you want to do finding the average. Now, I think it's easier to explain and kind of visualize this with an example. So Teresa here is meeting with her financial counselor. She has a variable income. All that means is she makes, a little bit more one month, a little bit less another month. So here's an example of what she made over the course of July through September. She said that she remembered once in the past year making about $3,000 one month, and then another year, the low was about $1,800. So here's what those two options would look like for Teresa. If she chose the lowest month from the past year, she would be working with an $1,800 per month on her as her money in number. It's going to be an important number. If she took the average, and I just did the past 3 months for our purposes, the average would be $2,176. So financial counselor tells this to Teresa, and she says, you know what, looking at this, I feel most comfortable setting it at $2,000, because she looks at the last 3 months, she looks at the low, and she says, most of the time I'm going to be at that 2,000 mark, and the months that I make more, that'll kind of make up for the months that I make less. So she's going to make her budget work with a money in number of 2,000. That's her personal choice. But you could see this was the options up here were a starting point for her. Hope that helps some of you who are making a variable income right now. And I'm going to move on to my next most frequently asked question on income calculation. What if I'm receiving Social Security benefits or unemployment right now? Is that my money in? Yes, there's going to be a ton of different types of what you would categorize as income. It's money that's coming into your household on a regular basis that you're using to pay for things you need, like bills and all that good stuff. So I'm going to put a list up here, lots of different types of income, depending on your age, stage in life. All of these might be things that you include. Oops, went too far. Lost my slide. Hold on. This is how you can tell it's live, right? There's going to be mistakes and times that I mess up occasionally, like get lost in our PowerPoint presentation. All right, so we're almost there. Okay. these were all of the income sources that I said, yes, that would totally make sense to include these. I put a couple funny ones on here. These are things maybe you wouldn't include, like, somebody's paying you back, you bought them dinner and they're paying you back. Not really income, right? If you win some scratch off tickets, maybe not, unless you really win the lottery, in which case, you and I should probably talk after the session, send you my email. Monetary gifts, that's probably not something you want to include if it's just a one-time deal. But all of these other ones are things you would want to consider including in that money in total number. And remember, that's what we're looking for here. We want a money in total number for your household, even if that involves some averaging. Last big question on income before we move on. A lot of people ask, what if I have income that only comes around once or twice a year? So another great question, we call this periodic income. And an option for you, let's say you are like this gal who makes a bonus in March and in September of $3,000. An option for her would be to add up the total bonus amount for the year and then divide that by 12. So if you did that, $6,000 divided by 12 comes to $500 each month. Now, I put a little highlight here because if you think about this in terms of time, let's say this was 2021, we're planning ahead. In January and February, you technically have not made this money yet. And depending on when you're making your budget, you may not have made that money yet from that bonus, or maybe you've already spent your last bonus or whatever. So in that case, you may want to consider spreading out this income over all the months to follow until the next periodic income. Hopefully that makes sense and that helps at least one or two people if you have a situation where you have periodic income. That is it for income. Step 3. So far we have visualized our financial future. We know what we want. We have come up with a number that is our money in number. And now we're going to discuss money going out. Whew, this seems like a big job, right? This seems like a lot of work. I know a lot of professionals who recommend that you go out and buy a notebook and you put it in your purse or, put it in your pocket or something, carry a pen around with you. And every time you pull out your credit card, every time you pull out your wallet and you spend money on anything, you write it down. Now, for me personally, that would not work because I would think of that little notebook as talking to me oh, you shouldn't be spending money. You shouldn't be going through the drive-thru at Salad and Go and getting your coffee and your salad 3 days a week. No, so I think that using the notebook method, it might work for you to track your expenses and to see how much money is going out, but it also might change what you do. It might change your behavior. And then it's not a true picture of what's happening. The other thing about the notebook is you'd have to keep in mind all of the automatic payments that are happening electronically, right? You're likely not pulling out your wallet and pulling out, $1,200 cash and walking it in to, pay your mortgage. Probably not. It's probably being paid in some other way. So all of that being said, what are we going to do instead? We are going to look at the past. We're going to use the past as an indicator. So you want to pick a pretty recent month. Again, we're budgeting monthly here. So you're going to pick a pretty recent month and you're going to find all of the statements that you need to figure out where your money is going. It's a great opportunity. Let's say you forgot your password for wherever your mortgage is. Great opportunity to, get all your passwords recovered and find all your login information and, get everything taken care of. But so I recommend getting all of these statements for 1 month because if you get those all printed out, you can even print the transaction history in your online banking for whatever your checking account, you have money coming out of there. Check register, if you're someone who's writing checks and you're using your check register to balance, you want to get that out. Credit card statements. Think about wherever you pay anything from, and you want to get all of those statements. So it's a little bit simpler if you pay everything out of one account. If you use multiple credit cards and multiple accounts, it's going to take a little bit more digging. But if you get everything for 1 month and get it in front of you, we have an option for you to figure this out. And you might be wondering, well, what am I going to include? Like, what does money out really mean? And the answer is everything. Everything going out is going to be included, and whatever you're saving. So let me break it down for you. I have 3 categories when we talk about money out. We've got bills, saving, and spending. Those are our 3 categories. And we're talking about our money out total. We're going to break it down into those 3. And I like the idea of, if you're getting all these statements together, that you also grab 3 highlighters and you have a color for bills, a color for saving, and a color for spending. But there's a lot of different ways you can do this. This is just one method. I kind of just like having everything in one place, so that's what I recommend. Let's talk about breaking these down a little further so that when you actually go to look at your statement, you know what you're looking for. I understand that you guys don't have all this stuff in front of you right now. Hopefully this is empowering you to, take that step and get the stuff together. Maybe, get together with your family, whoever's in your household, a partner or whatever, get together with them, talk about it, and actually, take these 4 steps. That is our hope. Anyway, bills. I borrowed Dave Ramsey's idea of the 4 walls to talk about bills, and I added a couple things to it at the bottom, but his 4 walls, his justification is you've got to have these 4 things taken care of, and they're the first 4 priorities for your money, no matter what. Because if you don't have, number 1, food, there's no point in saving money for your kids' college, right? So he puts these 4 in order, and he calls them the 4 walls. So we've got food, utilities, shelter, and transportation. Food being more of like the grocery side of things, not necessarily, your takeout every night. But, a little bit of this, a little bit of that. It's your budget. The utilities, that's going to be wherever you live, what utilities you have to pay. You're probably familiar with this because you are currently paying them. Could be water, gas, electric, lots of different things, sewage, trash. Shelter is going to be your rent payment, your mortgage payment, whatever you contribute to that if you have roommates or whatever the case may be. And then transportation, there's a lot of different things that can go in here. If you take public transportation, whatever that ticket costs per month, remember everything's monthly. For transportation, it could be a car payment for your car loan, insurance, gas, oil changes. There's a lot of things included in there. And don't worry, on the next slide, I'm going to give some real examples of items you're looking for in your statements. But I did add these 2 other items to the bills category. So other bills that you need to pay in order to, do your job or function in daily life. So for example, many of us at this point in time rely on internet service and probably a cell phone unless you have a landline and that's your only communication. So something like that, if you're working from home and you need to have internet, you're going to have that in your bills category, right? That's going to have to be counted in there and make sure we have room in the budget for that. So I would also count other bills like that in here, as well as debt payments. So if you've got a credit card debt that you've been working on and you have a payment you're making every month, that would go here. Student loans, all that kind of stuff. So that's bills. So essentially, you take your blue highlighter, you go through all of your items and you mark everything that is bills. Next category, saving. any funds that are set aside for any savings purpose. Think about all the things you could be saving for. An emergency, a rainy day, maybe you're saving up for a new TV, or you want a down payment for a house, retirement, saving up for education and an education savings account. There are so many different things you could be saving for. So any funds that are being set aside regularly, and remember, this is what you're currently doing, not what you're going to do in the future. This is, I printed out all of July's statements and how much did I actually save in July. That's what we're doing today. And people always want to talk about this. Savings does count as money going out. Think of it as paying future you, right? So no, it's not technically going out away from you into the world. It's still owned by you, but you need to think of it as leaving your possession, because that means it actually will stay there in its little savings pot, however you're managing that. So that's saving. Definitely, we are going to count it as money going out because it's important to make it a priority if we can. All right, and then spending, wow, Christina, that's pretty general. Yeah, it is. Everything else, right? So you've got your bills, you've got your four walls, things you got to pay for. You've got your savings, whatever those goals are that you're setting up for yourself, that financial vision you have, saving is probably going to be a little bit of a part of that, right? And then everything else that does not fit into the first two categories is going to be in spending. So let's look at some examples. Under bills, so we just talked about this category. You can see that the four walls under food, grocery pickup, going to the grocery store, stocking up on food for the household, that's going to go under bills. Remember, we've got all of our statements here. We're finding each thing and kind of highlighting it or marking it in some way, because we are going to be totaling these numbers up at the end. Utilities, City of Payson water and trash, SRP, APS, wherever you are, whatever utilities you're paying, remember to mark those off in bills as well. Shelter, whether it's a rent check or an automatic payment, your mortgage to your mortgage company, maybe you have your mortgage with us. Transportation, bus pass, QT for gasoline, car loan, car insurance. We've talked about a lot of these examples already, but just to give you an idea, when you're looking at your own, it's kind of different. And by the way, please ask questions. I know Alex mentioned that at the beginning, but I will be coming to those questions here shortly, and we'll spend some time at the end talking about those. So please go ahead and send those over if you have any questions about what I'm talking about or something related. I'd be happy to answer them if I can. And if I can't, I will find someone who can. Saving. So this is what it might look like in your accounts when you're looking at your transaction history. Maybe it's an automatic withdrawal that you have going from your checking to your Roth IRA. Maybe it's something that you do monthly, like on the first of every month when you pay your mortgage, you also transfer X amount from your checking to your savings. That's going to count as long as that money stays there. So that's the key, right? If I transfer $1,000 from my checking to my savings account, and 15 days later, I have to use that $1,000 to pay my rent and my groceries, then I didn't save that money. So just keep that in mind. Saving could also be if you are pulling out $100 in cash and putting it under your mattress. I don't know if that joke's ever going to get old, storing the cash under your mattress, but please don't do that. There are much better ways to save. Transfer to another bank for your secret savings account that you keep hoping you'll forget about and leave the money there. So this is just examples of what saving could look like when you're looking at your statements. And finally, spending. Like I said, it's everything else. It's going to be pretty random, pretty specific to who you are as a person. My spending list is going to look a lot different than probably Alex's, except I think we both like Target. So maybe in that case, they would look a little bit the same. So spending, it's going to be everything else that's not under bills, not under saving, all the other stuff that comes up in life, right? You still get to have fun, but it's a matter of looking at all of these and guess what's next? We're going to total them, right? So we're going to total up the bills per month, the saving per month, the spending per month, and we're going to take a look at these numbers and say, okay, what is our total money out per month? So we've been talking about how we set our visions and our goals, and we're going to keep thinking about those as we do this work. We found how much money was coming in. Now we need that total amount of money going out. And, oh, I had a nice little sticky note slide here for that. So this is what we've done so far, and I just, I picture this with sticky notes in my mind, but if you're not a sticky note person, it's totally fine. We now are to the point where we can give every dollar a job, and this is the fun part. So we've got the money in, we've got the money out, we've figured out those numbers. If you find that your money in minus your money out equals 0, then you are on your way to what we call a zero balance budget. So it's going to be that center box here. If money in minus money out equals 0, that means that every dollar that's coming in basically has a job to do and is going out and doing that job in one way or the other throughout the month. That job could be paying for gas in your car. That job could be having fun, going out for dinner with some friends back before COVID. Your money can do a lot of jobs, and not all of them are boring, right? There's fun jobs for our money to do for us as well, meeting our goals that we've set. So that's awesome if we can get to this point where every single dollar has a job. But you may still, your money might not be doing exactly what you want it to, right? So if you're someone who really wants to buy a house within the next 3 years, let's just say that that's one of your goals, is to buy a house in the central Arizona area within the next 3 years. And you take a look at your budget and you see that you are spending $1,000 a month and you're saving 10. That's the type of thing where, yes, every dollar has a job, but you may not necessarily reach your goals, that vision you have for yourself, if you don't reallocate some of those dollars. So that's one option. Another option when you do the money in minus the money out is that there's money left over in your budget. And that just means it's kind of sitting there, in your checking account or wherever it is. And that's totally fine, but it's not meeting its full potential because you haven't given that money a job. So we'd work on giving every single one of those dollars a job as well. And then the third option, money in minus money out. If you end up with a negative number here, that means that you're currently spending more than you make. So if you are in a situation where maybe your credit card bill seems to be getting higher and higher, even though you're making payments on it, it might be because of a cash flow situation, right? So we have some options here. We can look at, can we increase income at all? Can we look at the bills? Is there any way to save money on some of your bills or adjust the spending? And every situation is going to be different. So I want to show you guys an example before I get to questions, because I think giving every dollar a job, it's so specific to you as an individual when you are sitting there and looking at your finances. That the best I can do in this setting right now, unless I was one-on-one with you, is to show, kind of how this would look for someone. So that someone today is Alejandro. I started with Alejandro's financial vision, okay? He wants to pay off his student loan debt. He's got about $15,000 more to go, and he wants to pay it off. He also knows that one of his buddies is getting married in a couple of years, and he wants to go on a super fun, extended vacation with him for his bachelor party. So that's his other goal. He wants to save up for this big vacation and he wants to pay off his student loan debt. So Alejandro, he calculates his monthly money in, and he's got a paycheck. He gets 2 of those per month. He does some dog walking on the side, and he also rents out a room occasionally. So he found an average for 2 of these. These were those variable ones. And this was his money in number. For his monthly money out, we looked at, and I broke it down a little bit further for you guys today to look at the 4 walls, the other bills, and then saving and spending. You can see where all of those fall. So he's got food, utilities, shelter, transportation, his student loan payment. And then right now he's currently saving $20 a month in a savings account. And everything else is about $900. So if we were to do that little math equation that we talked about, money in minus money out, currently, if you look at these two, he's at negative $170. So 2 questions to ask. Can I increase my income? So he says, no, I can't really increase this right now, but I could do some extra dog walking and see if I can get, couple more nights of someone renting a room. So he tries to kind of work these ones up a little bit. Then, how can I lower my expenses or my money going out? So he takes a closer look, and he has this smart thermostat, and he says, well, I've never programmed it. So decides to program his smart thermostat, save a little bit on his utilities bill. Decides to cut down on his spending a little bit, limiting, okay, I'm going to pack a lunch a few days a week instead of going out every day, or I'm going to limit my takeout sushi to twice per month instead of, 5 or 6 times. Whatever the case may be for each individual, it's going to look different. But those changes between trying to up the income a little bit and lower the expenses a little bit, that changed his numbers by about $300. So that brought his money in minus money out to 130, which means we get to give those dollars a job. The rest of his dollars have jobs. You can see what they are over here in the chart, but he decides he's going to put $30 extra a month towards his student loans, again, meeting that goal here. And then number 2, he's going to start saving up for that vacation. So he's putting $100 extra into his savings every month. I know that was a lot. There's a lot of information here. I hope that you got a sense of these 4 steps to creating a budget. And the first 3 can be done on sticky notes. I mean, you've got to have all of your financial information in front of you too, of course, but you can write the totals down, write your goals down on sticky notes. But for number 4, and really number 4 helps with all of these, but at the end of our session today, you're going to have in your other browser window, like where you signed on, you're going to see our Easy and Empowered Budgeting page, and it has a survey for you to take. It also has our free budgeting bundle, which is super valuable. So I love it because it has a customizable Excel spreadsheet for you to use, and it uses the same concepts that we talked about today. So it's going to break it up the same way that I broke it up for you. And as you put in your own numbers, the charts are going to magically appear to show your numbers. Everything will adjust to what you put in, and you don't have to do any formatting. You don't have to put in any formulas. It's ready for you to use. The other thing that is included in that bundle is some infographics on Arizona living cost averages. So it goes through a lot of the bills, and it tells you the average that a 2-person household would spend on that item, as well as a 4-person household. And it's a range, of course, of numbers. But I think that's helpful, and hopefully you guys grab that bundle. If for some reason you miss it, it will also be emailed to you. This little sticky note you see is just giving you some ideas of things you will need when you are ready to start budgeting. So it is time for you to ask questions. I have talked certainly enough for this evening. I do appreciate you guys hanging in there with me. I know it was a lot of information, but I'm going to jump over to Q&A, and I'm going to see what you guys are asking. All right, so I have someone who asked about gross income or net income, and that's an excellent question. So when you're talking about money in and you're budgeting in this way, I recommend that you use net income, okay? Because whatever your deductions that are coming out beforehand, you can certainly analyze those and get into a more complicated budget plan with all of the deductions that are coming out from your paycheck. But I recommend with this type of budget that we're talking about today, that you're using your net income, or basically what you're gonna take home. And of course, there are different ways to do that, but hopefully that answers that question for you. Somebody else asked about property taxes or HOA fees. So I'd probably put that in the shelter category. It seems like it would fit well there. So with bills, if you live in an HOA, you've got to pay your HOA fees to be able to stay there. So as well as taxes. So I would factor that in. And if it's something where property taxes, where they're due once a year and they're not worked into your monthly payment, then you could set aside that money in a separate account, but kind of budget it in monthly to have that amount ready by the time you're coming up on that payment being due. And I'm very excited because we do have plans for another virtual event. Well, hopefully we'll be doing these every month, and I'd love to see you guys come back for more of these, but hopefully we'll have one soon on setting up savings goals for things that come up periodically that need to be taken care of, that maybe are not those things that you have in the budget every month, but you need to save up for them, like if your dishwasher breaks. Awesome. Okay, these are great questions. Thank you guys so much for sending these in. I see somebody else asked, or kind of had a comment, if I were debt-free, I would want to continue to be debt-free. Yeah, absolutely. And if you find a way to meet that goal, you know, and you set this up for yourself, you're going to be so satisfied with that, the completion of that goal, that hopefully you'd be able to take all the money you were putting towards your debt and instead start to save that, hopefully. And of course, you know, everyone has a different situation that you're living in right now. You know, I don't know who I'm talking to, and you guys all, this is going to be, hopefully parts of this you're able to take and apply as it fits with your particular life and lifestyle, and maybe it'd be something different than what would apply to somebody else. Thanks for sending in all these questions, you guys. All right, so this person, love this. This is a great comment and question. I have a bad habit of adding to my savings and not wanting to take that money and pay off my numerous credit cards. I can't let go of that safety net feeling. So any tips, and what should I keep in savings as a safety net? Excellent question. And you know, I totally understand that. And this just makes me more excited about my savings virtual event that we have coming up. We also have one coming up on debt. So please stay tuned, come back. I promise not to make as many bad jokes next time. I sort of promise. So any tips? To keep in savings as a safety net, I consider the safety net as kind of your emergency savings. And the emergency savings, you want to start to build that up, and you start with a low goal, and then you slowly keep adding to it, and you want to build that up to about 3 to 6 months worth of income, or at least the bills that you're gonna have to pay. But that is a huge number, right? So on the other side, you've got your credit cards, and you want to get those paid off as well. So this is a matter of thinking about, is it worth it for you to keep those balances on those credit cards and be looking at, whatever interest you're paying on that balance? Is it worth it for you to continue paying that to keep your savings there? That answer is going to be, I can't answer that for you. It's kind of up to you. Some people would be happy with, I'm going to keep this amount in my savings and it will never be touched. And then everything else I will put onto my credit cards. But again, it's going to be dependent on your specific situation. Once you get the credit cards paid off and you're not paying that interest anymore, I'm assuming that's the situation from your question. Think about how much more saving power you will have at that point. That's another unique way to look at it, as how much more you'll be able to save once you do have those taken care of. But again, those are just my thoughts. All right. Oh, I love this one. Thank you for saying this. This is such a valid question. So I think it's the last one we have for today, unless you guys throw any in last minute. But this person asks, I'm scared to have my savings in my budget because what if I spend it all on dining out, was their example, but there's so many things that you can spend it on. So I'm not sure if you bank with Copper State Credit Union and you have like a savings account with us or not. Hopefully you do. But there's a really cool feature in your online banking. If you go into your dashboard, there's a little wheel. It's like the settings wheel. And if you click on that, you can find certain accounts and you can hide them from your dashboard so that when you sign in to your online banking, you don't see certain accounts. So you might know where I'm going with this. Have a separate account where you transfer your savings to, and then hide it from yourself. No, I'm sort of kidding, but sort of not. Out of sight, out of mind, it helps, right? We also, I've found that it's very helpful to tie your savings to a specific goal. If you ask yourself, would I rather, make myself a cup of soup at home and go on this amazing vacation in 3 years? Like if you have a goal connected to your savings account, it's a little bit easier not to spend it, but to help yourself out, you can hide that account, transfer it over, and then forget about it as best you can. All right, guys, we are coming up on the end of the hour. I appreciate you so much signing on with us this evening. Hopefully it was helpful. I really would appreciate if you guys take the survey that you will see in your browser as you kind of exit out, and also download that free budgeting bundle. Thank you all so much. Hope you have a great evening. See you next time.